So tell me your background.
Oh, it's diverse.
Good.
Completely diverse. I've been told my background is perfect for what I do. I have undergrad and graduate degrees from the University of Michigan, working with emotionally impaired and learning disabled adolescents.
Well,
And
you and I get along just well.
exactly. From there, I went into the hedge fund industry, where
Oh,
everybody is
wow.
emotionally impaired and learning disabled.
Well, that's quite the pivot.
In 1979, I made the switch and I married someone in the industry. So on marketing trips to California, I would learn about soybean crushes. And on the way back, I would learn about arbitrage. And everything that I learned by the seat of my pants. I'd taken one accounting course in college and one Fortran course in college and no investment courses at all. And if you had ever told me that I would own an investment accounting software firm, 3 times I would have asked you what you were talking about.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
Yep. But when we split up, we had an 18-month-old son. So I became a single mom and I spun off a company called Organizer Systems because I had created the way to keep track of all of the accounting for the firm, for our investors. And I learned all the legal, I learned all the accounting, I learned all of the reconciliations. I learned it all, literally.
How much of that Fortran class helped you with that?
Believe it or not, my first software product was written in Fortran.
Is that right? Wow.
Yeah, I actually had my brother help me in that one class so that I could pass it. So that's why. So yes, in 1982, that was what was the one big program, was Fortran.
I'm going to guess, did you ever use something called FileMaker Pro?
I know FileMaker Pro, but we never used it. FileMaker, yeah, I'm familiar with it. And it wasn't that also on an Apple?
Well, I'm not sure that I know. And the only reason I know of it is because my uncle was a programmer going back into the banks in probably mid 70s. And I remember walking into the computer room at the time, and it was these giant mainframes with the well, I'm sorry to say Q code, but
the disk.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we had a PDP 1103 in the basement.
Oh, wow.
And it looked like a refrigerator. Yeah. And I used to shove this disk into it, and everything was written in Fortran. And my ex-husband had written it. I had created it. He had written it in Fortran. So when we split up, he took the system, the trading system, because he was really, brilliant when it came to creating trading systems. I had done all of the other stuff, and I wanted the accounting system that I'd created. And I hired a programmer, started a company called Organizer Systems, and grew the company for 20 years. And it did investor accounting for hedge funds and funds of funds. And
you actually started, I'm making a couple of quick notes here, but was it 1979 that you started Organizer Systems?
No, it was 1982.
1982.
And I grew the company for 20 years.
That's a long time.
And you'll appreciate this. In 1997, I had 20 people. 12 of them were programmers. And my clients were top of the line. I don't know if you know Bridgewater, Ray Dalio, and Bank of Montreal, and Cargill. We had huge clients. And my head of systems dropped a book on my desk. And the name of the book was It's About Time. It was all about Y2K.
Really?
And I brought all of my programmers in, and I brought them to the conference room, and I said, we're written in Fortran. we only have 2-digit years. How is the system going to know how to subtract 99 from 00? Don't worry, it's not a problem. So I did what I always did. I didn't believe them. And I went back into my office and I put in a trade and I dated it January 5th, 00, crashed the entire system.
No kidding.
Everybody came running in. Something happened. We don't know what. I brought them all into the conference room and I said, I know what. We have a Y2K problem. And for the next year and a half, I ran the remediation program. We went through 3 million lines of code. We retired 1 million. And we did windowing. Do you know what windowing is?
No, not in that context, for sure.
It's an if-then statement. If the number is zeros, if the number is greater than 50, then add 19 to the number in front of it. So if it's 82, it's going to be 1982. If the number is less than 50, add 20 in front of it. So if the number is 2024, it's going to be 2024.
But you were good for another 50 years or something like that.
Well,
you know, I think you're actually the first person I've ever talked to that was a victim to Y2K. You know, it was such
that acknowledged it, that admitted it.
Maybe so.
But I jumped on my soapbox after that, and I started telling the industry, the alternatives industry, all about it. And Chase called me.
Really?
And I went to Chase. They said, we want you to give a presentation to our alternatives investment group. And I said, great. They said, can our Y2K people join the meeting? I said, of course. They said, how much is it going to cost? I said, nothing. No, we can't do it for nothing.
Uh-oh.
So they made a donation to my father's charity. And
nice.
It was the largest conference room I've ever seen. And they called me after the meeting and they said, we get it. We really get it. I mean, we work with 125 third-party firms. We allocate them money. We don't know what their Y2K readiness is. And we need to evaluate them because if they fail, it's our deep pockets people are going to go after. And I said, that's exactly right. And I said, I'm so glad you get it. And the woman said, but you don't understand. We want you to go and evaluate all these firms to tell us whether they're ready or not. And I said, but I'm not a Y2K consultant. I'm a software technology person. And then she said to me, now you are. And she made me a deal I couldn't refuse.
Nice.
So I knew there was a finite deadline, December 31st, 1999.
Yeah.
And I vowed that as soon as Y2K was over, I would do a rewrite on the software, which is exactly what I did. And in 2002, when we were complete with the rewrite, I was approached by SunGard to acquire my company. And I let them because I was juggling the company, my son, and my dad. And the reason I created the software that brought me on to this is in 1994, when I still had Organizer Systems, I got the phone call that nobody ever wants to get. My parents were on their way back from the Berkshires and they were in a car accident.
Oh, no.
My 71-year-old mom was instantly killed.
Oh, no.
And my dad, who was a well-known executive and had taught me to become an executive, was in a coma with a less than 2% chance of survival.
Oh, my gosh. I'm so sorry to hear that.
Thank you. He did survive, but he had a traumatic brain injury. So for the next 14 years, I became his primary care coordinator. And when he passed away in 2008, I went on a 5-year scavenger hunt trying to find everything so I could settle the estate. And that's why I created the product that I created, which is my second software product. And in 2002, if you think about it, that's when I sold the company. That was 94 to 2002, many years after the accident. And I had been juggling Dad and my son and the company. It was too much.
So your inventory product is geared more toward financial instruments and
No.
intangibles, or it's
No.
made for everything, but the impetus just happened to be your family's estate.
The
And you
family's
realize, hey,
estate,
this
yeah.
is something that somebody needs to make a copy of everything that they have, whether it's a tangible item or a physical item or whatever.
Or a legal document. I mean,
Yeah,
there are over 12 kinds of inventories. There are physical inventories.
yeah.
There are critical document inventories. There are vehicles. There are digital inventories. There are moving inventories, storage inventories, downsizing inventories, divorce inventories, specific asset inventories, and there are room view inventories. The room view inventories are the ones that I recommend people do, because with 7 to 20 photos per room, you can capture every visual item in a room, including the condition of the room, in case you need it for insurance claims.
Yeah.
And then once you get all of that, and it takes less than a minute per photo. So you take a photo of the south wall of your house. You just, using Pinventory, you open the app, you take the photo, you say it's the west wall or the south wall. You say what floor it's on if you want. You say it's a room view, and you dictate anything you want about the items on the wall, and then you hit save, and it automatically puts it into the platform.
So this is just an app downloaded to the user's mobile phone. They use their mobile phone as the camera capture device, and the app guides them through the process of the description, taking the photos.
The app is just a companion app to get the information into the main platform,
Gotcha.
which is web-based, encrypted, secure, online, multi-user. And once you get that basic information, and it takes less than a minute per photo. So if you're doing 10 minutes a room and you've got 10 rooms, it's about an hour and a half to do your whole house.
Yeah.
And think of what you have saved time-wise, money-wise, if there is a claim.
Yeah.
You can just print out a report and send it to the insurance company.
You know, I'll tell you a quick funny story and then give the floor back to you. But I think one of the things that piqued my interest about you and that platform is, so I've been in the claim space for probably 35 years now. Started this company in 99, did some things to save enough money to make the software, and launched the first client on our claims management application 2004, I think. And, somewhere, I would say somewhere in between 2004 and 2010, I started thinking the same way that you're thinking after seeing, the aftermath. And of course, I'm lived in Louisiana my whole life, so I've been through claims, I've been through catastrophic events, but I've never experienced it at the level that I did running a catastrophe management system and knowing how challenging that inventory processing is. And I started thinking, what if someone just went around and did this for someone?
I do. That's what I do.
So I never thought about it in, in the way that you're talking about of having the user do it themselves. But, it is obviously the logistics way that, I thought of just would have never made it. And I'm trying to think of, I said, how much would you charge? Maybe charge somebody $100, and then if there's an event, charge them $500 to actually get the data back and actually use it, which at that time, obviously it has more value to them, but it never made sense. And it wasn't something that I wanted to pursue, but the way that you're doing it makes so much sense.
Well, I do
So,
it three different ways, but go ahead.
well, I was just going to say, so do you try to market this through the carriers as like, a free service that they can give to their insured?
No, they don't seem to have the appetite for that. I
Really?
just started trying to market it. We did the rewrite. It originally, the product was started as a PC product in 2010, 2009, and it was capturing all the personal and medical and
Yeah,
financial information for every family member. It was on a PC,
gotcha.
and everybody wanted it on a Mac, and everybody wanted it on the internet, and I wasn't ready for that
Yeah,
because I didn't trust the security.
yeah,
It took me until 2017 to be comfortable enough to start the process of a rewrite. But by then, there were all these products that did the financial stuff. And I had become very much aware of the legal ramifications with HIPAA. And I
yeah,
didn't want to do
yeah,
the medical.
yeah,
So that left me with a subset of the personal, and I decided inventories. If I can only do one thing, let me do inventories because there are so many of them, and I can encrypt all the photos, all the documents, don't have to worry. Yes, I'll deal with PII, but so we went ahead and did the rewrite, renamed the product. It originally was named Care Binders because I used to carry around a binder for my dad,
hmm
but people told me I had to change the name because it sounded too much like Care Bears.
mm,
So I called it CB Data. And when we rewrote it and released it, and it took us almost 3 years to release it, and I called it Pinventory because it was all about
yeah.
inventories,
No, I love the name.
personal and
So,
professional.
so
Thank
that
you.
was after that last rewrite that you've been on the market with the Inventory app for how long now?
Since the end of 2020, I decided that I was going to not market it for 2 years, just get early adopters so that I could gain the experience and I could understand what people wanted. So the product has
Right.
continued to evolve over the last 3 years, 2 years. I was going to formally start marketing in January of 2023. And I am the New Jersey chapter head of, do you know PRMA, Private Risk Management Association?
I know of them. I'm not intimately familiar with the organization, but I have heard of them, yes.
Okay, PRMA is for insurance related companies that work with high net worth and ultra high net worth.
Okay.
And I am involved in that. And I am, at this point, I've relinquished being the head of New Jersey chapter, but at the time I was the head of it. And I planned an event, and this was going to be my big coming out party. I'm the only person that didn't show up.
Uh-oh.
I was in the back of an ambulance.
Uh-oh.
I became my best use case on
Mm-hmm.
why people need inventories.
Mm-hmm.
I had not felt well on December 30th, and by December 31st, I had a pain up here and I had a fever. And I have a 3-day rule. So I went to the doctor on January 3rd, and it took them until the 18th to diagnose me with pericarditis, which is a the area around your heart gets filled with fluid. It's an inflammation, and it starts squeezing your heart and your lungs. And when they diagnosed it, they rushed me to the hospital in an ambulance, put a chest tube in. I was in the hospital for almost a week, in rehab for 2 weeks, and it took a year to recover from that. So all of my marketing went out the window. I didn't do any. And then this past February, I had pneumonia. So it was a long year and a half that has gotten me to here. And here is where I'm just starting to market again. So I'm glad I didn't, because I have backup, but it would have been backup for a long time. But when I got sick, my son, who is in Boston, was able to do a lot by tapping into the inventories that I've got. I have a critical documents inventory. I have a passwords inventory. I have a digital assets inventory. And if the worst had happened, I have a physical inventory as well.
Yeah.
So
you mean your son was able to do a lot for you on your behalf while you were out? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. So my dad passed away 8 years ago, and my mother, I think 4 years before that. My sister is the attorney in the family, so she dealt with this much more than anyone. But my mom was, let's just say, not so well organized. I was going to say that my sister went through that. And those care binders that you're talking about, I mean, she had probably, I don't know, 5 filing cabinets with various things from family history and things that my my mother had inherited from her parents, who, had real estate and a grocery store and an ice house and shrimp boats and properties and all these things. And in fact, I was telling somebody a story. I think I was telling it to a guy I was fishing with this weekend, that when my grandmother passed away, I think 1976, my mom and my mom's sister, there were 2 children, took over the management of they had about 30 rental properties. And the rental properties were all managed, the rent collections and everything, in a spiral bound notebook. And they had tenants that were paying them $25 a month for a house.
Wow.
Which is unbelievable, but, I fully understand all the need from having gone through that, and the emotional toll that it took on my sister of having to procure all those things and then trying to make heads and tails of it. And, she would keep us updated as best she could, but, it took a good 3 years, if not longer, to just figure out where all those loose ends ended up.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
Yep, I know.
So, a couple of questions. The app allows the user to go into the room and take a few photos. And does it use machine learning to try to do an identification of the objects? No. So the person takes the photos, and then they have the individual objects, and then you provide a way for them to dictate what the object's described.
You have your phone?
Yeah.
What kind is it?
It's an Apple. It's a
download Pinventory from your app store.
I should have done that ahead of time.
Yep. The app is free, but you have to have a Pinventory account in order to use it, because it's the same username and password for the app as it is for the account.
Is it Pinventory Home and Business?
Yes, it is.
Pinventory Home Inventory.
Pinventory Home and Business. Did you get in?
I am in.
Okay. And what you want to do?
I have Penny Inventory and Peter Inventory.
You want Penny Inventory.
Okay.
and you are brought to the one and only screen in the app.
Okay.
That's it. So what you're going to do is you're going to hit the camera icon and say take photos, and it's going to bring up two permissions. One is it's going to want you to permission its use of the camera all the time. And the second is it's going to want to permission your use of the library because it's saving things to the library. So permission both, and the first thing it'll do is it'll bring you to your camera.
Yep.
Okay. Something in your place. Take a photo of something that you're going to take from different angles. The same item.
Okay.
Take it.
Take it.
Yeah. Go ahead. Decide if you like it or not.
I like it.
Say yes, you want to take another one. Now take it from a different angle.
It's so easy.
Yeah. If there's a signature, get the signature.
There is.
Good.
It's a piece of art.
Good. Get the signature.
Okay.
Say yes, you want that. And is there a series on the left side?
Nope.
Okay. Well, you can take another photo if you want. You take as many as you want.
Okay.
But when you're done, say no, I don't want to take any more.
Okay.
And it will show you the photos you've taken.
Got 'em.
Then you're going to hit underneath the word item name and give it a name. You can dictate it or you can just type it. For the item type, if you hit underneath item type, you're going to go to art because the type is artwork.
You know.
Because you just said it was art.
And I don't remember saying that. I was like, that's pretty good. I'm like, is she watching me do this?
No, you said that it was art.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's right.
And then item subtype, if it's one of those. Now, if it's something else other than that, the person who's taking the photo cannot add to the list from the app. And that's on purpose, by the way, because if you've got multiple people taking photos for you, you don't want them to be able to make up types because it'll muck up your whole database.
Yep, I can appreciate that.
But if you're on the platform, you can add to this drop-down list. All the drop-down lists can be customized anytime you want. So you're just going to fill in now where it says description, hit below description, hit your microphone and dictate exactly what you want about that photo. It might be a story behind it. It could be anything.
This is Thomas dictating the description of his Tony Moe's art piece. Nice.
The resident, that's okay. You can always edit it.
Transcribed nice.
Make it home sweet home is the residence. If you want the location, you can say where it is, what floor it's on. You can have an inventory ID. You can have a value. You can have measurements. Now, if you're doing a box that you're packing, you can put in a box number. You can put in the date it was packed. You can put in whose items it is, where it came from, where it's going to. You can dictate the contents, all of these different fields. And when you're done, you can hit save. And when you get the green check mark, let me know.
I'm there.
Okay. Now, you may recognize Patty.
I see Penny.
And we're going to go to home inventory items. And if we've done it right, your painting is already there.
There it is. Look at that.
And if we go into the record, you can see the art type, the inventory ID, whatever you dictated, but it also allowed, and here are all your photos.
Yep.
but it also allows you now that you're not on the app, to do more. You can put in the acquisition date, who you want to gift it to,
No kidding.
who wants it, as opposed to who you want to have it.
Oh, that's funny.
Moving and storage, those
You
were,
know, that's just something that speaks to your experience, because
Yep.
I would have never thought of having a list of who wants, right?
well, think about it. In this day and age,
Yeah.
people are living all over the world.
Yeah.
If someone passes away, wouldn't you like to be able to send them a catalog of everything that's available for distribution and let people
Wow.
decide what they want
Wow.
without having to fly in? And then, or even before they pass away, and when they're still around, let them know who wants what and let them decide who they want to give it to. It eliminates a lot of the family drama, because most of the fighting doesn't occur because of the value of something financially. It's because of the value of it sentimentally.
That's amazing.
Then you've got warranty information and insurance policy information. And Pinventory has the ability to let you add custom fields, but it also lets you add custom collections. So if you have a wine collection, we've already created all the fields that you would need to be able to keep track of that collection. Same thing for sports cards.
This is amazing.
Thank you.
So my brain's like going 90 miles an hour already.
Good. That's wonderful.
That's awesome.
This is rare books. Now, if you have a collection that we don't have, we will go ahead and put it in there at no charge.
So I'd have to think about that. I guess for me, it would probably have to be fishing gear.
That's fine. That works. Fishing gear is fine. Now, we also keep track of home details. I think that it's conflicting with what we're doing. Let me just log out and log back in again.
So for the home details, I will tell you, I've often thought about this, like when you're repainting the house, or you have a scratch that you need to repair, or you've bought a house and you need detailed documentation about the pool, or to put the pool pump warranty on the web somewhere. You're telling me you have that kind of stuff?
Yes. So
That's
this
very
is home.
cool.
This home details is like a realtor's listing for the home itself. But then you might have room details where you want the dimensions of the room and the number of closets and the type of ceiling and the condition and the type of floor and windows. You can add anything to this. You can add custom fields. So if you wanted, let's take your example. If you wanted to take a photo of the pool, and then you have the pool photo in here, and I don't have a pool, I don't think. No, I don't have a pool in here. But if we had a pool in here, you could then add custom fields. If you couldn't find fields that would work for you.
I'll give you an example. So last week, my pool, I took my pool apart to clean the chlorinator, put it back together, turned it on, and the pool pump wouldn't start. And I knew what it was, because about 6 or 8 years ago, the same thing happened, and it wasn't the pump motor, it was the capacitor. And it's a $15 part. that saved me a $2,000 repair bill. So I knew what to look for this time. But the interesting thing is it's a different pump. And I went to take a picture of the manufacturer's label, and it was so worn out from the weather and the salt water that I could barely make it out.
Mm.
But had I had this and
Yep.
had it in inventory,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay, so you
I
create a record.
honestly, I love this.
You create a record called pool,
Yeah.
and then under notes, this is where I would put the pool pump, or you could, let's save that change. What you could do is you could use the event log and add the category, which is maintenance. The type of event is replace pool pump. Is that what you did?
It's the capacitor on the pool pump. Pool pump capacitor. You could say pool pump motor capacitor.
ER, OR.
Or
And when did you do this?
yesterday. I was so excited when I got home and the piece was in from Amazon because I knew if I was wrong and it wasn't the capacitor, it was going to take 2 more weeks to get a motor in. And then not only would it have been $2,000, but my pool would have been completely green, which my wife said for Mother's Day. That
Unacceptable.
capacitor better work.
And how much did it cost you to do it?
$15. As a matter of fact, I bought 2 of them because I said I'll keep 2 is 1 and 1 is none.
Okay, so there's your
Look
event
at that.
log.
That is so freaking cool.
So now it's with the record, and you can print out the record with the event log. So we don't have a picture of a pool. Let's just see if we can find a pool. I took the picture of the pool. I saved it to my my C drive. I then went back into Pinventory and went into the record and attached it down here by going add photo, choose file. I chose that file and said open. And then I said save the change. And what it did, once you've got that in there, you can then go right to reports because the system has already kept everything. So you can go to home inventory, you can go to home inventory items, you can go to all fields if you want, you can go to, let's do all fields, 2 photos per row. And it's only going to give you the first 3 records, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to filter. I'm going to play with the parameters because it will pop up the parameters. It's creating the document. And I am going to show all records. I am going to call the report Thomas's assets. But I am only, what did you call it? What was the name of the item?
The one that I took the pictures of, Tony Mose Art, MOSE.
Okay,
Art.
it starts with a T.
Yep.
I'm just going to go find it. Tony Mozart. That's
There
the
you go.
only one I'm going to do. Notice it replaced the name of the report with Thomas's assets.
Mm-hmm.
It's got everything that you had done, including the value. And
That's so cool.
there are the photos. Now, if you wanted, let me just go back in here. View event log, say yes. And now watch what happens to the report. It should have viewed the event log. It should have put the event log in there.
So event log meaning the chronology of what was done to create the asset?
No, the event log was the pump.
The pool
Oh,
pump.
sorry. That I know why it's not doing it,
You
because we're
filtered on
doing
the Tony, yeah. You
we
filtered on
filtered
the
on the
Tony one.
Tony.
Yeah,
So let's do not only Tony Moe's, but we called it pool, I think.
that's so cool.
And their event log. Here's the event log, though I'm seeing some crazy stuff in there. Here's the oh, I know why. I know why. It's giving all of the event log, not just the event log for that one for these two items. It's giving the event log for all of the items that have events. So I need to filter those out. But there's your pool. You can see the event log for the pool, maintenance, replace capacitor.
Let me die.
So it's very powerful.
Yeah, so I do some of this now. You ever heard of a program called Priority Matrix?
No.
Yeah, it uses the Eisenhower matrix, and it allows you to create an unlimited number of matrices that you can name whatever you want. You can name the quadrants whatever you want.
Okay.
And I'm actually, it's like I'm sure you know what a SWOT analysis is. It's the same concept.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so you can use it for any purpose. Like, so I have one for my fishing camp, things that need to be done, like do now, do later, do next month, do whenever. And as you do them, you put notes about them, and then you can move them around. But it doesn't have nearly the granularity of the data that you carry here. And honestly, if I were to try to put this, it would be so unorganized and awkward, and there's no reporting and all that kind of stuff. And then I tried to do something somewhat similar to this using Microsoft OneNote, probably
Oh no, that's
5, 6 years ago, and it worked, but it's not a database tool like this.
Yep.
I honestly, I love what you're doing here. I'm really interested to hear where you're going with it, who you're going to market to, what the approach is, what are the implications for, the insurance piece of this. If you're even trying to market it to, I could see the public adjusters being all over this for one.
I would love to market it to those people. I'm just getting started marketing, and there are realtors who could give it as a closing gift for anybody who just bought or sold a house, because that is a
100%.
perfect time to create an
100%.
inventory. When
Yep.
people are getting married, it's a great wedding gift that the newlyweds won't really like, but it is a lifesaver on many different levels, including, sadly.
They may not understand it at first, but it won't take very long until they realize the first practical need that they have for it. But, I'm also thinking about wealth managers.
Managers, how can a wealth manager manage assets properly if they don't take into account the value that's sitting in a home? A lot of people, the majority of their assets are sitting in their home. In art collections, there are 3 different ways that I offer service. You can use the software just as it is for $7 a month, which is, you can do everything that I just did.
So that's full access.
Full access, $7 a month. And that's for one address. If you have 2 homes, it's an extra $5 a month. If you have 3 homes, it's an extra $10 a month. But that's the least expensive way to do it. You don't get locked into a long-term contract. You can use it for a month or 2 or 3 if you're moving from one place to another. But hopefully, you'll understand the magnitude and the benefits. If you have a fire or a flood or a theft or any kind of loss, you can go in and you can select just the items that were affected.
So would you create an event around that?
I would create a report around that.
You'd create a report around that.
This is an insurance report.
Yeah.
These were the items that were stolen.
I see.
And here's the total value. And it's just from and you could add the pool in here too.
Yeah.
We could add the pool as one of the items. Let's just add the pool. So now there's your pool.
So have you made any efforts to market this to insurance companies?
Well, I honestly not, because I haven't been out there. I started to, but you know that 90% of the effort is the follow through. I never got a chance to do the follow through because I got sick. So now I'm at the point where I'm trying to pick up. And consequently,
I mean, I see channel partners written all over this. So I think the approach that you said with the real estate agents, I mean, anybody that wants to add value to the services that they have in a low cost way by delivering the tool, and it's a very low cost item for them to gift. It's a very valuable tool to the insurance company who has no meaningful way of encouraging anyone to create an inventory until after the loss. And then honestly, it's so painful to do it post claim. And the only tool that they have for this is Excel.
If you've got Pinventory, remember that event log?
Yeah.
You can track it for a claim.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But I don't
honestly,
have
if I were doing back in the days when I did adjusting, where I hate to age myself, but pretty much everything was done with pencil and paper back then anyway, but sadly.
Or Fortran.
Yeah. So it could, honestly, handling a claim would be a breeze. It would be cake. It would be a dream.
Well, we can, in fact, export if someone wants us to create an API with them. So we've captured all of the relevant information. We even have an insurance report that is by company. So if you wanted to do insurance company one photo columnar, I can do that as well. So I can say all.
You have the API done?
We have, the API gets customized by firm. We have an API with a company called Max Sold, which is an online auction house.
Our ideal customer profile is a property and casualty carrier with a PIF of less than 500,000 policies, and primarily those in cat exposed areas, because that's my background is disaster management. And the true magic of our application is in high volume property claims. So there's a super close synergy there.
Do you deal with only homes or do you deal with businesses?
We do both.
Because think about it. I'll tell you the best story I can tell you. I also have a consulting firm. Ever since I sold the company to SunGard, I worked for them for 2 years. I waited out a 1-year non-compete. And in 2005, I started my consulting firm, which is Alternatives TLC. Yes, tender loving care, but also training, learning, and consulting. And you can go to alternativeslc.com and you'll see what I do.
Okay.
I have clients that tend to be small businesses, family owned, and they are from all walks. They could be investment advisors, they could be startup companies, they could be food processing firms. I write grants. I got one of my clients a $4.2 million grant from the USDA.
Nice.
And one of my clients after Hurricane Ida, I said to them, do you have an inventory of all your equipment? No, we don't need one. We have insurance. And I laughed.
Yeah.
And I said, well, that's great. But if you have a claim, they're not going to rely on your balance sheet.
Yeah.
You need an inventory. Well, we don't have one.
It's amazing that someone would say that response.
They did.
Yeah.
And I've heard it before.
Yeah.
And I said, so let me just ask you, how much do you think you have in equipment? And they hemmed and hawed and said, I don't know, maybe $500,000.
Yeah.
And I said, humor me.
Yeah.
Let's walk the property. I'll take the photo and then I'll turn my camera around and you can dictate what the item is and how much it would cost to replace it. $3.5 million later.
Gosh, I was going to guess $1.5 million.
3.5. We sat down with their insurance company only to find they were over 90% underinsured.
Wow.
And if they had had a total catastrophe because of all of the co-insurance penalties, they would have gotten $22,500.
I was going to say 10 cents on the dollar, but it's not even that.
No.
Wow.
So, yes, a huge potential client is small business.
Yeah.
And that's so they can do it themselves or they can come to the academy. I have an academy, allthingsinventoryacademy.com. And that's where I teach professionals how to create professional inventories as a service. If they want a second side gig, if they want to enhance their current offering, maybe they're professional organizers, maybe they're attorneys, maybe they're accountants, maybe they're senior move managers. They want to offer a service to their clients. I also have courses for people, individuals that want to do it, but they don't know how, and they don't need all the fancy standardization because they're not doing it for anybody other than themselves. I mean, I did a 10,000 square foot home in Massachusetts. I took over 850 photos, 69 different areas. And I spent 2 days on site, and then I came back here and I spent 4 days putting it all together. If you don't have a system of knowing where that photo was, and that's a naming convention and a room flow, then you can't call the client and say, by the way, I have this picture and I'm not sure where I took it.
I have a funny story for you.
Okay.
So my business is oriented around, well, I would say probably 95% of the claims that we get are residential property. And maybe not quite that much now because we've got a big auto carrier, but it's not casualty, right? And when I was an independent adjuster mostly for probably 12 years before I started this company. And we did a lot of industrial claims. We did a lot of Jones Act and Longshore. And we got a claim in one time about a man who had fallen while climbing out of a barge.
I thought you were going to say a bar.
We got a bunch of those. No,
Sorry.
a barge, so a barge that was conveying probably some type of grain on the Mississippi. And the carrier said they were never able to get photographs of, where the man fell. And they had gotten word that the barge was in transit to the Gramercy area, which is a little bit downstream from New Orleans or a little bit upstream. And so I made arrangements on a weekend to try to go find that barge. And I don't remember all the details on all that important, right? All we knew was there was an accident on this barge and I needed to try to get some photos. So I found out where the barge was going to be. I drove down to the location about an hour and a half away. I talked a tugboat captain into taking me out on the river and dropping me off on the barge. Then I get on the barge and I realize there's probably 12 of these sort of portals that put the wheel, screw the wheel thing off and flip it up, and there's a ladder in every one of them. And I go, I have no idea which one of these has the ladder. And I had a suit on.
Oh, God.
So I said, every one of these things looks exactly alike. I said, I don't know how I'm going to distinguish one of these photographs from the other. So I started taking pieces of clothing off.
But that's good.
I said the hole number 1 is where my left shoe is, and the hole number 2 is where my right shoe is, and the hole number 3 is where my tie is.
But that was smart.
The only thing I could think of.
That was smart.
Well, I don't know how smart it was, because I know the adjuster that got the report with the photos had to think this guy's crazy. Oh, Lord. Well, but he got the job done.
When you're
that
doing
is funny.
When you're doing it for yourself, you don't have to worry because you're in your own home. You know where things are. You know what they are.
Right.
The third way, so I've got all of those courses in the academy, and I've got a course for small businesses so they can get one of their employees trained how to go around and take photos of each room in their office or in their building or in their plant, and how to do that. So the third way is I have a concierge where I will go in and do it for someone. That's especially helpful when you've got high net worth, ultra high net worth. They know they need it, but they have no desire to do it themselves. So they can just source it out to me. And I sign very, very strong NDAs where my NDA is in perpetuity. I don't believe that just because you don't talk to a client for 5 years, you now have the right to announce their name to the world. So I never tell people who my clients are. So those are the 3 ways it can be offered. I would love to, insurance, every single person I've ever talked to has said to me, insurance companies should love this. I don't know how to break into it.
Yeah. Well, I do. And I have those relationships. I don't know why they would not. The insurance industry is at a place right now where the public image isn't so great.
I know.
Right. So this to me, any type of value add that distinguishes them from someone else.
Yes.
And to me, this is, it's helpful to their customer. It's helpful to them. It's helpful to the adjuster. It's helpful to the claims process. It's a win-win for everybody. So yeah, it'd be interesting I can make a few calls and see
that would be wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing that comes to mind is that I remember I told you that when I decided to start the company, we had to do a number of things for a number of years before we had the money to build the software. Well, we built websites. I built an industry portal, and I sold things that claims adjusters use. So I got a flavor for e-commerce. But what I really learned out of all those experiences, I learned how to do web marketing. And I became an SEO expert. And I am actually working on a sliver of our soup to nuts, cradle to grave, A to Z claims management application. That all of these things start with a first notice of loss. We're building out a digital first notice of loss and marketing that separately. And it's going to give me the opportunity to use my web marketing experience from 25 years ago just to market that little sliver of it. And I think this is something that, for web marketing, that's the key to this for you. is to understand how to reach that slice of the market and get, wide penetration across on the consumer end, like you said, the lawyers, the wealth managers, the real estate professionals, anybody involved in estate settlements,
Trustees, fiduciaries.
trustees, if you can figure out a way to get to those people, and it has to be on a super economical way, right? I mean, going to trade shows works, and you can live where your customer lives, but it's super expensive.
Yeah.
Web marketing is the key to this.
I have spent, not lately, but with the first product, I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on people who said that they knew marketing, they knew web marketing, and it did not work. So
did it not work at all, or it did not work financially and economically?
Both. I mean, we didn't get leads, and it cost me a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I am so leery.
Yeah.
I tend to pay on results.
Yeah.
If someone can bring me business, I will pay them for it.
Yeah.
Because I just can't front. I can't front it anymore.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, I've never
think at the
found
height
it.
of what we were doing, we were spending 20 grand a month, but
Yeah,
the way that we did it was we would buy keywords and we didn't spend a lot of money. In fact, we bought the cheapest ones that we could find, and it would be a combination of words that were inexpensive because they didn't really have value to anyone else. But we knew that with a combination of words, if somebody entered those combination of words, they were looking for exactly what we had. So it was inexpensive and it was effective. But what we ended up doing was we would spend that money to see the conversion rate of the folks that found us via the paid ads. And then we'd modify the website so we could do it organically. So by the end of the thing, we weren't spending any money. It was basically testing the waters by spending the money to find out what would convert. But anyway, that was a different life. But there are people out there that know how to do this well. I don't know how to tell you to find the right people, but you could do it in such a way that, just like you said, hey, I'll pay you this much based on the results. But
that I will pay anybody based on results. I will.
Carol, I got to tell you, I love what you have. I think that you're going to be successful with it. You've had some serious setbacks, but it's just a delay. But the product itself is super cool, and I can tell you, like, I've thought about this so many times. Like, why isn't somebody doing this?
Somebody is.
Somebody is.
And the nice part about it is it crosses all of the income lines, because if they want to do it themselves, they can. They want to take a course to learn how to do it, they can. They want to join a group and be coached, they can. They want somebody to come and do it for them, they can.
You got all those options in front of you.
Yeah, they are.
I think it's awesome. Well, I appreciate your time. And anything else you want to add before we say goodbye?
The best time to start an inventory is right now.
There you go.
It's really the best time was years ago when you first moved into your new house or when you got married. Every change that's an event, a life event, is a great time. But the key is to capture the things that are the most important financially, sentimentally, for legacy, and for legal purposes, and have them available whenever and wherever you need them.
And if you get those core items in and you get comfortable with the process and you get a little bit of discipline and say, yes, when I acquire something, when there's a life event change, when I dispose of something, it really doesn't take that much time. It's just really a habit, and you've made it easy.
Yep. And you've done it now. You know exactly how to get that information in. It didn't take you more than a minute. to take those photos,
Yeah.
and you saw all the reports you could get out of it.
Yeah, and the cool thing about it is, like you said, it's not just the inventory. Like I often think, and I know I said I was going to wind it down, but there's so many things that I do as the person who runs the household and takes care of the physical aspects of the home. And there's so many components of it that you just don't know. And it takes up so much of your time when you have to replace an electrical component or something like that. Like you said, to be able to have it as a gift to a new homeowner.
Of all of the information that's in your head, how much of it would your wife know about if something happened?
Not much.
So the best gift that you
Yep.
could give her
Yep.
is a dump of your head and its knowledge
Yep.
as to what you have, where it is, how to use it, things like that.
Yeah.
I went on a 5-year scavenger hunt
Yeah.
for my dad, and I don't want that to happen with my son.
Yeah. Can I ask you one last thing before we part?
Yes.
What's the picture behind you?
Everybody asks me that.
Really?
What do you think it is?
It almost looks like an electrical schematic.
It's a motherboard.
It's a motherboard. Okay.
A blown up motherboard from 1982, I think.
Okay. Very cool.
IBM. I don't know how they did it, because it was a gift that I got
I'll be darned.
in the mid 80s. And when I had my first software company, and they had just made the IBMs, the brand new IBMs.
So what do you think the scale was on that at the time in 1982? Is that 10 to 1?
Oh, yes, probably.
Because a motherboard today, well, obviously, you can have a motherboard on here that's 1,000 times more powerful than that one. But
I don't know. But I can't figure out how it was done, because I never took it apart. It came this way. Oh, no, that's okay.
No, I'm still here. But it's very cool. Well, Carol, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I'll definitely be in touch on a couple of different fronts.